Let's talk about SUMIFS, which is the formula that we're using today to update this report that we have here. Now, there's three main components to the SUMIFS formula. There's the sum range, which is the actual range or column that you're trying to sum up. The criteria range, which is the range or column that has the criteria that you're searching for. And finally, there's the criteria. And that is the cell or cells where you will specify what you are searching for. And the great thing about the SUMIFS formula is that you can have multiple criteria. Now, that differs from the SUMIF formula in that the SUMIF formula only allows you to have one criterion. If you look at the formula here, you can see you have a criteria range, a criteria, and a sum range. And you'll notice that the criteria range and the sum range are flipped compared to the SUMIFS formula. Now, SUMIF is an old legacy formula that existed before SUMIFS, but now that SUMIFS exists, there's really no reason to use SUMIF ever again. My old boss used to love using SUMIF, and frankly, I hated it. Joe, I'm sorry, but if you're watching, learn SUMIFs. The problem is that if you decide that you need additional criteria, you'll need to completely rework the formula and change it to SUMIFs anyway. And as you can see, going back to SUMIFs, you have criteria range 1, criteria 1, and then we've tacked on the additional criteria that we need. And really, you can tack on however many criteria that your report has that you need to return the results that you're looking for. So let's go ahead and jump into the formula. This report here is showing revenue by advertising campaign. And the first thing we need to do is summarize the monthly revenue by region. Let's go and add filters to these header names. So let's use Ctrl Shift right arrow to select everything. Then Alt A T to add a filter. Then in the region, we can see that we have East, Midwest, and West. So that's what we'll add up here. And then to summarize the revenue, we'll add a SUMIFS here in column D, right above the monthly revenue range. So I'll say equals SUMIFS, hit tab. And the first thing we need is a sum range, which will be in cells D11 through D94. So hit Control Shift down arrow to select only what you need. Hit F4 twice to anchor on columns 11 through 94, comma, and the criteria range will be the region, which is over here in column G. So let's go to cell G11, Control Shift down arrow, hit F4 to anchor, comma, and then criteria 1 will simply be the region name in cell G4. Hit F4 3 times to anchor on column G, close paren, enter. Now this isn't formatted, so let's go ahead and format this. Let's use Alt H to go home, and let's use comma or accounting style, so hit K. Then let's just use Control down arrow twice, hit Control D to fill down, Alt equals to add an auto sum, Control B for bold, and then scroll down, let's make sure that ties out. Yep, ties out 7.8 million of revenue. And let's just add a little border. Perfect. All right, the next thing we need to do is create a monthly sales commission statement for each of these account executives. And usually we'd do that on a separate tab or separate page. But in this case, let's just do it over here to the right for simplicity purposes. Let's start off by sorting by account executive name, sort A to Z. And the first person is Alex van der Sar. And campaign 64 through 69 apply to him. So let's go ahead and just copy those over into this statement over here. I'm going to make that blue font so I know that it's a hard code. And everything else will be black font or a formula. And that way we know that when we update any hard codes in blue, everything else that's a formula will automatically update. And the first thing we're going to do is use a SUMIFS formula to add in the monthly revenue. But what we need to point out is that there are some duplicates in this case. And the reason for that is that some campaigns had 2 account executives working on the campaign. And you can see that if we use conditional formatting.
So here in column C, hit Control Spacebar to highlight the entire column. Then Alt, H to go home, L for conditional formatting, H for highlight cell rules, D for duplicate values, hit OK. And there we can see that Alex had 3 campaigns in which he had another rep working on this campaign with him. And that's important because when we create the SUMIFS formula, we need multiple criteria to ensure that we're only bringing in the revenue that's applicable to him. So let's start the formula with equals SUMIFS, hit tab, and the sum range will be the monthly revenue over here. Let's select the entire column, Control Spacebar, comma, criteria range 1 will be the campaign name. Let's go over to column C, Control Spacebar, hit F4 to anchor on the column, comma, and then just hit left arrow for criteria 1, which is the campaign name there, campaign 64. Hit F4 3 times to anchor on column J, comma, and then for criteria range 2, we need the account executive name. So let's go over to column F. Again, hit Control Spacebar, F4 to anchor, comma, and then for criteria 2, we'll link it to cell J3. Hit F4 to anchor, close paren, enter. And you'll notice it currently returns 0, which of course is because we haven't entered the account executive's name yet at the top of the commission statement. So let's go over and copy that. Control C, and then in cell J3, paste it. And the monthly revenue is not formatted, so let's just copy the formatting from the report over here. Hit Control C, let's go back over, Control Alt V for pay special, T for formats, enter. And it is now formatted. Great. So in this case, we're using SUMIFS with multiple criteria. The sum range is column D, which is the monthly revenue or the range that we're summing up. Criteria range 1 is column C, where the campaign names are listed. And the criteria 1 is the campaign name that we have here in our report. And then for the criteria range 2, we're using column F, which is where the account executive names are listed. And then criteria 2 is simply in cell J3, where we're specifying who the account executive is. Perfect. So that SUMIFS formula is working well. Now, the next thing we need to do is bring in the deal size that applies to that specific deal or campaign. And we can't use SUMIFS because, as I mentioned, there are some duplicates. So we're going to use index match. There's a separate video in which I go through index match in more detail. So if you need a refresher, please go back and take a look at that video. But let's go ahead and add it here. So equals index, and the deal size will be in column E, match, and the lookup value will be the campaign, comma, deal size is 200,000. And the next thing we need is commission rate, which we'll pull in from this next tab over commission plan. So let's say equals index, control page down to tab over to the commission plan. And then we need column D for commission rate, comma, match, control page up to go back. And we will use the deal size as our match. We're going to remove the tab name in case we need to sort later, comma, and then the lookup array will be here in column C. F4 to anchor, match type 1, close paren, enter. There we go, commission rate at 5%. And the last thing we need to do is just calculate the monthly commissions, which is equals monthly revenue multiplied by the commission rate. And that's formatted as a percentage for some reason. So let's go ahead and format that also as a dollar format. So select cell K11, copy, go back over, Control Alt V, paste special, T for formats. There we go. We can do that to deal size as well. Now we can just select everything in cells K11 through N11 using Shift and right arrow. And now continuing to hold Shift, use the down arrow to select everything all the way down to campaign 69. And then hit Ctrl D to fill down. Perfect. Now under monthly commissions, we can add a sum. So Alt equals. And there we go. Let's add a little border. And that is the monthly commission amount that we will share with both Alex and the payroll team. And in order to do so, we can create a PDF for this. So let's select everything from cell J1 through N18. And let's set the print range by going to Alt, P for page layout, R for print area, and S to set print area. Then when you hit Control P and you want to create a PDF, it's only showing the revenue and the detail that's applicable to him. Perfect. And then after you've created that PDF for Alex, then you can go ahead and update the campaign names and the account executive name, and all of the information here will automatically update. And then you can go ahead and send the additional statements to the additional reps. And then you're done. So hopefully this video has been helpful. Please let me know of any questions in the comments. And thanks for watching. Talk soon.